If you've ever been peeking around to the back of your Axe 3 and have seen a couple of XLR ports labeled AES and thought, what the heck is that and how can I use it and what does it do? This is the video for you. We're going to be talking about the AES ports on the back of the Axe and how we might integrate it into an audio system, much like the audio system that is here behind me in this rack. I've been building out this rack for the past couple of weeks, getting ready for a winter tour that I have coming up in about rehearsal start in about 3 weeks. So I've been getting this rack ready for our in-ear monitoring, stage monitoring, and obviously I'm integrating my Axe 3 into this rack as well for a seamless and very simple setup when I get to venues and all that stuff. So I'm going to be talking about how I am using the AES ports on the back of the Wing and the back of the Axe in this system. What's up, friend? My name is Matthew Dale. I'm here to help you play better, sound great, and understand more. Grab a cup of coffee, grab a beverage of your choice, whatever. We're going to get a little bit nerdy in this video, so buckle up and bear with me on some of these parts, but we're going to talk about how I'm integrating the AES, how you might also want to integrate AES into your own rigs. So what the heck is AES? AES is a digital audio protocol, or another way to think of it is it's a digital audio language. So in the analog audio world, we have like 4 main signal types that we use. Mic level, which needs to be amplified through a mic preamplifier. Instrument level, so that's the signal that's coming out of our guitars and basses. And then we have line level, so that's what's coming out of the Axe after we do all of our guitar processing. We are sending a line level signal from the Axe to whatever destination we want to go, whether it's to a mixer or to FRF or speakers or wherever. And then we also have speaker level. So, that's coming out of the back of your amplifier, your real amplifier, going to the guitar speaker. That is that signal happening. All 4 of those. Now, they all need to stay within their relative lanes, right? If we take a mic signal, if we just plug a microphone into the back of a speaker, we're not going to do anything, right? We're not actually going to be hearing anything. Conversely, if we, say take a speaker level signal and plug it into the input of something, we're probably going to break stuff, right? So all 4 of these need to stay within their own respective lanes. And it's much the same with digital audio. Now, we probably won't break anything, but because they're all different languages, depending on what you are using, they probably won't talk to one another and we won't get audio that way. So AES is one of many digital audio protocols, digital audio languages. It's 2-channel, so that could be stereo left-right, depending on what we're doing, or it could just be, one mono signal and another mono signal, depending on how we are doing things. It's very similar to SPDIF or SPDIF, and we might also see SPDIF on the back of the FM3 or the FM9. Some other stuff uses SPDIF. SPDIF is usually over like coaxial, like RCA cables. The AES protocol that we see on the back of the Axe goes over XLR, or you might also want to use a lighting cable, a DMX cable, if you're doing longer runs like that. But in the back of my rack here, I just have short little XLRs, and those are working fine. I'm going AES from the Axe 3 into the Wing, and the other way around. I'm doing the Wing AES out into the AES in for some other stuff on the Axe as well, which I'll get into in a second. Other digital protocols that we see would include Dante. So Dante is over a network cable, and that's 64 channels of audio, and that's 2-way. So 64 sending and 64 receiving. That's fairly similar to AVB, although AVB isn't quite as widespread. And then we also have like more proprietary digital audio languages like Allen and Heath S-Link for their ecosystem of stuff. And then we also have the other digital audio protocol that we see on the back of the Wing, which is AES 50, which is 48 channels sending and receiving through network cables there. So why might you want to utilize the AES port? Let's talk about just one way of doing this from the Axe first. So like in my rack here, I'm using the AES out, and I'm going into the AES in on the Behringer Wing behind me. Why might that be a good idea? Here's, number one. It's 1 cable as opposed to 2. That's the first sort of thing. So rather than going from my output number 1 left and right for stereo, and then going into 2 channels of my Behringer wing, I can eliminate all that and just do 1 for my stereo signal. That's kind of nice, it's half. You're reducing the stuff by 50%. And advantage number 2 would be that I don't need to take up any of my precious microphone inputs on the back of the wing. Now, the wing rack is pretty robust in this regard. There's 24 ins on the back with mic preamps, but if I don't need to take up one of those 24, I'm not going to. So one of the advantages of using the AES is I'm going AES out and then AES in, and I'm leaving those other channels alone. Now, the biggest advantage of utilizing the AES in and out, or in this case, for just this brief conversation that we're having here, the AES out of the Axe-Fx into the AES in of the Behringer wing, the biggest advantage is you're reducing any sort of excess digital and audio conversions. So again, this is going to get a little bit nerdy here. Bear with me for a second. So any sort of digital audio ecosystem, this could be going into the Axe-Fx, any sort of modeler, digital audio modeler, any modern digital audio mixer, Behringer wing, Allen and Heath. What's the one that they're using? The SQ series. Whatever. Insert. Whatever digital audio mixer you want. They are all taking analog signals, audio signals, and converting them to ones and zeros to do their processing. And then on the way out of that device, they're converting it again back into an audio signal. So when I plug my guitar into the Axe-Fx, it's taking that audio signal from my guitar, turning it into ones and zeros, doing whatever we see that we have going on the grid, and then it's going to the output jacks, output 1, for example, and then it's converting it again to a line level audio signal. So here's the biggest advantage of utilizing AES. If I plug in my guitar, the Axe-Fx converts it into a digital audio signal. I can just take my guitar signal that's already digital and move it out from the Axe-Fx into the wing, still as a digital signal, do whatever sort of other processing that I might want to do in the mixer, and then put it out to my speakers, and I can eliminate the number of conversions from several to just 2. So the biggest benefit of that, of reducing the amount of conversions that are taking place, is in latency. You'll have less latency with a fewer number of conversions. And in general, it'll just be a better practice. You'll have just better signal integrity if you are doing that sort of thing, if you're eliminating the number of conversions. Now, is this something that you'll notice like a lot listening to it over speakers? Probably not. Is this something that you would notice as a player? Possibly. You'll be playing with less latency overall, if we're looking at this here. So Axe-Fx into mixer, mixer into IEM out to my ears. You might actually notice a difference in the small amount of latency that you're making up. But overall, it's just a better practice. It also makes the routing in the back of my rack quite a bit cleaner, which is always a nice benefit as well. Here's a secret benefit number 4 as well, and I love this, how it pertains to the Axe-Fx here. So on the front of our Axe-Fx, where we have our output knobs, if I'm doing your typical guitar input and then output 1 and 2, left and right, out to the mixer, where the output 1 knob is matters, right? So you turn it down, you have less signal, you turn it up, you get more signal. I usually run mine at about 75%. However, that's for the physical outputs on not the grid outputs, not the output 1 block. That's for the physical jacks in the back. When I don't use those jacks and I'm just outputting my signal through AES, this is eliminated, which is great, which means I don't have to worry about that knob position if it gets bumped around setting up or wherever. All of my leveling is going to be consistent, so I never have to worry about my level from my guitar signal going into the mixer changing at all. It's all going to stay the same, which is really, really nice. Now, I mentioned that I'm also using the AES port in the other direction on the back. So I'm doing the AES out of the Behringer wing and going into the AES in of the Axe Effects. So what's going on there? With what I have going on in this rack right now, and with what I'm doing for our staging for the tour that I'm doing in a couple of weeks, I'm going to have 2 stage monitors, and then I have 7 IEM mixes. So I have 6 in mono, and then I have the stereo one that's going to be going to me. And if you're familiar with the wing rack, although we have 24 ins, which is great, we only get 8 outs. So if you're doing the fast math here, I've got 2 outs for my stage monitors, and then I've got IEM mix number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, and then I need 2 more for my own stereo monitor setup. That's 10. I'm out 2 outputs that I would need. So what I'm doing to make up for that, I'm expanding my IO a little bit. I'm actually doing the AES out of the wing rack into the Axe Effects, and I'm using that to send my monitor mix to my Shure PSM 900 down here that I'm using for my in-ear monitors. And again, that's nice because I'm doing stereo over one cable, and I am reducing the amount of digital and analog conversions. So I'm still keeping that practice here, and I can get all of my monitor mixes that I need without purchasing any additional IO stuff that I would need. I can do it all from right here. So let me actually show you what's going on the grid for the preset that I'm using for this show. I've got my standard guitar chain here going into all this stuff. I'm still going into output 1, and you'll notice input 4 going to output 2. This is going to be my chain for my in-ear monitoring. If I go to the setup menu here, we can see how all of this is kind of going. I'll talk about the word clocking here in a second, because that's very important. You want to keep that in mind. But digital input source, this could be one of 3 options: the AES, the SPDIF, or USB channels 5 and 6. Obviously, we're using AES, so I'm going to leave it on AES. And then the only other thing that I really need to worry about down here in the digital I/O section is the SPDIF/AES out source. I want this to source from output 1. That's why I still have output 1 here. So my guitar signal, input 1 all the way out to output 1, is still utilized. It's still being sent to the output jacks left and right, output 1 left and right, but I'm not utilizing that. I'm utilizing the AES. So the AES out is sourcing from output 1, which is how I'm getting my signal there. And then on the input side, input 4, you can see down here on input 4, I have the source selected as digital. So it is not looking at input 4 jacks on the back. The Axe Effects is looking at the digital source, whatever I have plugged into the AES in for this block here. Everything is going into stereo, and then I'm output 2. I'm just outputting a line level signal into my my monitor. So with this little chain for my monitor mix, this is a pretty simple setup. I just have this, connected here. You could get a little bit more particular about this if you wanted to. This is pretty simple. Just whatever I'm changing in my monitor mix is going straight to my in-ear monitor system. But if you wanted to have a little more control over what you got going on here, I could do something like this, right? So input 4 is getting my mix from the board, and I could also send all of these other things into output 2, which again is going to my inner unit. So now I have effectively 2 things going on. I could get just my mix without my guitar signal going into output 2, but I could also get all of these other, I could also get my chain along with my parallel effects going into output 2 and control them from the mixer panel here. Row 1 would be my delay. Row 2 would be my dry signal, and row 3 would be my reverb. So I could have a little bit more control, actually a lot of bit more control over what I'm hearing for my guitar signal in my monitors, doing something like that as well. So you get a little bit more flexibility that way. Now, I mentioned this earlier about the word clock. Something that you really need to pay attention to when you are doing digital audio across multiple devices is the word clock. It's basically which device has the final say over how these devices are all communicating with one another. So right now, I'm using my Behringer wing as the master clock. So On the Axe Effects, I have that, I have my word clock not set to internal, but set to whatever is coming in on AES in. Um, with the other devices that we're going to have on stage, I've got another Behringer wing that's going to be at front of house, and I've got my stage box that'll be downstream of my wing as well. All of these need to be under the same word clock. So this is going to be our master unit, and that is going to clock the other wing, the stage box, and the Axe Effects. If you have all of these set to internal, you run the risk of having audio dropouts and issues, not very good issues. So one of the things that you really do need to pay attention to with digital audio networks here is how things are word clocking. So that's what's going on with our AES ports in the back of the Axe Effects. Might be something that you want to utilize. It's a great tool to utilize, especially in a rack like this, where I just have a short, small cable run from the Axe Effects into the wing and then vice versa for my output stuff. It provides a very strong, very clean audio signal into the mixer, which is great. Thank you for joining me on this nerdy deep dive. Once again, my name is Matthew Dale. I'm here to help you play better, sound great, and understand more. I'll see you next time.